To the annoyance of many PPC advertisers, Performance Max campaigns are starting to get a lot better. There's a lot more features that we have available, and they're starting to perform a little bit more in line with some of the other campaign types that we've had in the past, especially if you set them up well. Now, to that end, it's been a little while since we put together a video around how to set up a brand new Performance Max campaign, and some of the bells and whistles have changed, and we want to make sure that you've got a full understanding of what's going on. So in this video, we want to walk you through how to set up a brand new Performance Max campaign in 2024. We're in our Paid Media Pros placeholder Google Ads account, which means nothing's running, and it also means that if we do any examples of any creative, they're gonna look ugly. So just bear in mind that that's coming. But to build your first Performance Max campaign, you need to come over here, click the plus button, new campaign, and then you first need to choose your objective. Performance Max campaigns are compatible with sales, leads, website traffic, local store visits and promotions, and creating a campaign without a goals guidance. You will not be able to create a Performance Max campaign if you're using the awareness and consideration campaign objective or app promotion. Those use different campaign types, so just as a heads up, you'll need to choose one of these 5 here in the middle. For today, because I really like just using this, I'm going to create campaign without a goals guidance. We then select our campaign type down below, Performance Max right here. And then the next thing we need to do is determine which conversion goals we want to use for our Performance Max campaign. Every new campaign is going to start off by using the account default goals, and that's what I'm going to stick with here. But if you don't know what account default goals are, or how you can customize goals for your campaigns, check out the video at the top of the screen right now. For now, just going to keep plugging along. If we scroll down here, you can see that we can add products to this campaign through Merchant Center. I don't have that, so unfortunately, we're not going to talk about that today. And then the last thing, you can either do this or not, but you add in your final URL. So for just the sake of giving you as much insight as possible, I'm going to go ahead and add in the Paid Media Pros website here. Google says this can be your homepage or a more specific page on your site. Could be a landing page. We'll see how good this ends up making the suggestions for you, but this is a field that you don't have to use if you don't want to. So now let's click continue. That opens up more down here at the bottom. We give our campaign a name. Yes, we're going to stick with Performance Max 7. Please have a better naming convention than this though. Have it something that makes sense. But this is just a placeholder account again, so it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to click continue. And now we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of a Performance Max campaign. So the first thing you need to choose is what bidding strategy you want to use. This defaulted me to conversion value. Depending on your account, it might default to something else. But you can target either conversions or conversion value. And depending on which one you choose, I'll just leave it as conversion value. You can set a retarget turn on ad spend, which would effectively be TROAS bidding strategy. But if you don't have conversion value, or if it defaults you to conversions, you can use this, which is effectively max conversions, or you can check the box and set a target CPA for your campaigns. Now, there's no right or wrong bidding strategy. Depending on your account and your account setup, one might make more sense for you. So if you're curious about all of the different bid strategies in Google Ads, you can check out the video at the top of the screen right now. For right now, we'll just leave it as max conversions. And then the next thing is customer acquisition. You can set your Performance Max campaign to optimize for acquiring new customers only. Google says that by default, your campaign is going to bid equally for new and existing customers. And that was a big problem that we had when Performance Max first came out. It was effectively cannibalizing all of the remarketing lists, all of the brand search, all that sort of thing, causing some issues. But there are a few different controls that we have in place for that now. But additionally, not every account wants Performance Max to only be net new. If you do, all you have to do is check the box here. If we open this up, you can tell it that you want to just bid higher for new customers and still bid on existing users. You can see the changes over here. An existing customer might have some target of a $96 cost per conversion, but then for a new customer, there's additional value calculated into this. So that's one way you could go about it, is to try and focus more on new customers. But to do that, you need to define an existing customer list. And you can see here that to do this, I would also need to change my bid strategy to maximize conversion value. So this is probably why it defaulted to max conversion value. Additionally, if you wanted to only bid for new customers, you'd need to define an existing customer list. You can see that this is not going to work because we don't have one currently in place. But now you can see that you can have different degrees. You can bid for only new customers, and define a customer list. That's the most restrictive. It's not going to include any of the people in that customer list. That's the most restrictive. You can bid just higher for new customers, or you can let it optimize for all users, new, existing, all that stuff. So depending on your business model, choose the right one that makes sense for you. Let's keep moving down the list. Next couple sections are pretty straightforward. Location and languages. Who are you trying to target? Where do they live? What language do they speak? Make sure that you have this all buttoned up, just for the sake of, if I accidentally do anything wrong, I'm going to target this to the United States. Set the language to English. And now let's scroll down and look at the last two pieces on this page. So the first is going to be automatically created assets. If I open this up, let me scroll down a bit, you can see that in an effort to serve more relevant ads, Google is going to use its AI capabilities to either enhance your existing assets or generate entirely new assets based on the information you provide. By default, this is turned on for every Performance Max campaign. So if you want some additional controls, we can start to use these options here. So the first is going to be based on text. Customization means that Google will use text from your website, landing pages, ads, and all the different provided assets to create customized ad copy. So it's effectively writing copy for you. And final URL expansion means that you're going to provide a final URL or a landing page in your asset group that we'll look at here in just a minute. But keeping this box checked means that Google can send users to any page on your site if it thinks that it'll get better performance. So effectively, you're opening up your entire website for Google to use as landing pages. Now, if you don't like that, you can uncheck the box. That's fine. Or you do have some controls here because you can exclude URLs. This is going to operate very similar to dynamic search ads. I'm not going to go too far in depth there because we do have a video that walks through the URL controls. You can check that out at the top of the screen right now. But one thing to note is if you want to turn off text customization, by default, that turns off final URL expansion as well. So just so you know, if you don't want Google to customize your text, it's also not going to expand your URLs. The next piece is going to be video enhancement. So this allows Google to enhance your uploaded videos by creating vertical and square versions, as well as short versions. Now, this all comes down to how you feel about Google's editing ability. But again, just like the text customization and final URL, you can either check into or out of this video enhancement. And then down in the more settings section down here below, we have a few more regular campaign controls. You can set your ad schedule just the same way as you normally would, all day, just some days, weekdays, weekends, and then 15-minute increments for start and end dates. We'll just leave it as all. And then you also have campaign start and end dates, final URL options. And then the next couple of pieces are really handy. So we already talked a little bit about final URL expansion excluding URLs, but you can actually add page feeds to your Performance Max campaigns. And just like before, we do have another video that walks through page feeds for Performance Max. You can check out the video at the top of the screen right now. But for the shortened version, this basically means you provide a list of URLs on your website that Google can use for your Performance Max campaigns. So this gives Google a little bit of control as to what pages it uses, but it gives you final control because they're only allowed to select from pages you uploaded. And then the last section down here below is going to be the brand exclusions. Scroll down a little bit. This is the answer that Google came up with to many advertisers having issues where Performance Max campaigns would cannibalize paid search brand campaigns because it was low-hanging fruit, it was usually pretty cheap, and it performed really well. So if you don't want your Performance Max campaign to take over your branded search traffic, you can create a brand list here and add that to the campaign. Just like before, we have a video already on the channel that talks about Google Ads brand settings. You can check that out at the top of the screen right now. For now, let's keep moving and get into asset generation. And all of this is AI generated assets for you. This is an entire new section that our previous video did not cover because it didn't exist yet. So here they've populated the URL that we've got here. But then as you keep going down, you give more and more information so that Google can help create AI assets for you. So what products or services are you advertising? It already picked up pay-per-click marketing, whatever video clips are, and then internet marketing. So video clips doesn't make sense, but we could say digital marketing as another one, PPC advertising, any sort of additional products or services that you think are useful. You can add those in here. They then give you an entire section with 3,000 characters to tell what makes your products or services unique. And let me tell you, I did not write any of this. They came up with that. That is very buzzwordy, and they didn't even call themselves the right platform, which is super interesting. It's not Google AdWords anymore, it's Google Ads. All of that seems fine. They then went out and found our Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter profiles in addition to our website. But again, those are listed on the website, so it's not too crazy. But overall, they've got a bunch of information about us, or we could have adjusted it. And then you can skip this if you don't want AI-generated assets. But why not? Let's start generating some assets with this. Now what that's done is effectively moved us from the asset generation step down to asset group, and we're starting all the way at the top. Asset group 1 is fine, considering I'm not going to launch this. But then because we used the asset generation feature, now a lot of this is already pre-populated for us. We've got the final URL that's listed here. It's got a little bit of a warning, but I think it's just because it needs to have, HTTPS, whatever. But then if we keep scrolling down, now we can start to see not only what assets you need for your Performance Max ads, but also what Google has pre-populated based on that asset generation for us. You get 15 headlines. Each of them is 30 characters long. And you'll see that unlike search, there is no option to pin headlines anywhere. So you don't get that option. Off to the right, we have a ton of different previews. Since Performance Max runs everywhere, you can see it on YouTube, Gmail, search, display, and discover campaigns. You can also look at the mobile and desktop preview. If you really want to do something, you can pause it, which is what I'm going to do. But now we can see all of the different headlines that Google has come up with. Google Ads, latest Google Analytics video, YouTube ads, LinkedIn ads, Microsoft, pay-per-click advertising, PPC video for advertisers, all of this. Sure, these are not great, to be quite honest. They're very bland, there's not much going on, but in fairness, we also don't have a ton on our website. That's on purpose, but they didn't have a lot to work with. So the biggest takeaway here is that for Performance Max, you get 15 headlines that you can add in. And then as we scroll down, you get 5 long headlines. Google has pre-populated 2 of them for us based on that asset generation. Each of these can be 90 characters, and they operate pretty similar to the next group, which is going to be descriptions. Again, you get 5 of these. 1 needs to be 60 characters long, and the other 4 can be upwards of 90 characters long. Now you'll see here that you're required to have one 90 character count and one 60 character count description. For the long headline, you're only required to have 1, and for the short headlines, you're only required to have 3. Effectively, they need a base amount of text so that they can show up in a search ad. So you would need 3 headlines. They need to be able to show up in certain placements around all of the other existing Google placements. So they need 1 long headline and 2 descriptions of varying length. That's the minimum amount of text you can have for a Performance Max campaign. And overall, those are pretty straightforward. You then get to have 20 images. Here are going to be the guidelines on the sizes that you need for that. So they would like you to have a landscape, square, and then optional is going to be the portrait image, which is going to be that mobile size that is more upright and skinny. I highly recommend you have images of all of these sizes simply because of the wide variety of devices that this is going to show on, so many different placements. Just make sure you have as many images as you can in here. You then get to have 5 different business logos. They've already selected some from our site. They've got kind of the full color with white background. They've got then the full color, full background with the white logo. It's really small. It's really funny that they said logos are identical, choose a different logo. I didn't do anything here. They did that. They automatically set themselves into an error message, but that's okay. For each of these, whether it's images or logos, you can head into your ad library. You'll be able to find suggested images, the asset library. You can pull them from your social profiles or your website, or you can upload something. Same goes for images. For right now, I'm just going to X out of one of these so that it'll get rid of that error message. You then need to add a business name. This is required, but you only get 25 characters. Sometimes business names are longer than that, but you're going to have to come up with something because your business name does need to be added here. So if you've got a long business name, try and truncate it, make something make sense. You can then have upwards of 5 videos. They're not required, but as you can see here, if you don't have a video, Google will automatically create one in most cases. So if you need to add a video, you can go to your asset library or you can search for YouTube. But all of these are videos that we have either created ourselves or have used for other example videos that we've put together in the past. So you can choose any of these. Any video that you use for Performance Max needs to be uploaded to YouTube. You can't upload anything directly in Google Ads like you would for Facebook or Microsoft advertising. So make sure everything is linked to a YouTube channel and all of your videos are uploaded to YouTube. Even if they're hidden and used only as ads, that's where they need to exist. You then can have site links down here. So any additional pieces that you want to advertise on your website, they already chose 3 for us. So Blog Center, Courses Offered, and About Us. All of these are really easy to adjust. You can use site link headlines, 2 descriptions of 35 characters. Google automatically only adds in the headline, which is weird considering you have additional text. But overall, these will operate just like site links on your search campaigns because, again, Performance Max can show up on search. You can add tons of different site links to your campaign, so highly recommend you do that. Your call to action can then be automated, or you can utilize Learn More, any of these preset options, all the way down to Shop Now. So depending on what you're advertising, what your landing page is, what your call to action is, make sure that you're choosing the right one for you. And then there are additional asset types that we can start to leverage. These are going to be all of the different types of assets that we've got on regular campaigns. We've got promotions, prices, message, which is new, structured snippets, lead form, and callouts. So think of all of these as ad extensions or ad assets that you can have added in here. If I scroll down a little bit more, there's also locations. So lots of different expansions that you can have. Now, as I mentioned, this message piece is new. So if we click on message, you can see that we need to add a WhatsApp phone number here so you can start to communicate with your customers. You've got a starter message, whatever you want to add in here. Your call to action can be selected from any of the drop down here. And then call to action description, you can add that in as well. But again, this is effectively just trying to get people to start a message conversation with you on WhatsApp. So if that is a type of contact point that you would like to have with your customers, messages could be a great ad extension for that. For now, let's keep scrolling down. Now we're getting into the targeting of our asset group. We already did all of the creative, whether it's images, text, videos. So now let's start to get into who we're actually going to target. The first section here is going to be search themes. These are words and phrases people use when searching for your product or services, and they are optional for your campaigns, but they can be useful. Effectively, these are suggestions that you give to Google, and they will take these types of keywords and try and use those to find users, but they're not going to only target these on search or limit any of your display or video targeting because of these. So if anything, we could just type in a few different phrases that might make sense for us. As you can see here, you can add up to 25 different phrases, and Google will use these as indicators as to where it might want to start serving the ads. Next, we've got our audience signal down at the bottom. So search themes is going to be keywords that you provide. Audience signal is going to be the types of audiences, is going to rely on all the types of audiences you can use in Google Ads to find your target audience for Performance Max. Now, if you already have a saved audience signal, you can click the button here and find one. As you can see here, we've got PPC, PPC only, whatever. These are examples. But if you did have one already, you could just apply that to the campaign. But for now, let's say you wanted to add in folks based on your data, your first-party data. Here we can utilize any of the remarketing types of lists. They've already got some examples from YouTube and website, but if we browse here, those are the 2 sources, and we can find any of the lists that we have available under each of those different categories. So we would want to add those in there if we want to target people who are like that. So we would add those in there if we want to help Google reach our customers through Performance Max. But then there are additional signals that we can use, whether it's interests and detailed demographics or just demographics in general. Right now, it's defaulted to all demographics, whether it's age, gender. There are some additional pieces around parental status and household income. Those are all pretty basic. Now, under the additional signals, interests and detailed demographics, got to scroll back up here. These are going to be where you can add in-market, life events, and other types of targeting. Again, if we open this up, it's going to start off with some examples for us based on the suggestions that it has. But if we browse this, again, in-market audiences, life events, detailed demographics, affinity audiences, and custom interests. So effectively, every other type of audience that we have available on Google Ads, you can apply in this audience signal for your Performance Max campaigns. Now, that doesn't mean that it's going to target exclusively these users. It usually does reach beyond this, but all of these options help you narrow down who you're trying to reach through your Performance Max campaigns. I'm going to close these down just to make the screen a little bit smaller. And then last, down at the bottom, you can give this audience a name if you want it to save it to your library, which again would then save it in this list here, so you could come back if you want to reuse it over and over and over again. For now, since we're not going to launch this, I'm just going to click next. You can see that Google does not like that I don't have any targeting here, but that's okay. And then lastly, we get to choose our budget. Google is going to default us to a suggested average daily budget of $51. That's actually a pretty conservative amount. I'm pretty surprised that it started that small. It's got a recommendation of 61, 41, but you can also set a custom budget, and it'll tell you effectively what it thinks it's going to get performance-wise, but then also what the average weekly cost will be based on the budget that you have set up. If we scroll down, click next, you then get to review all of the different things that you just set up for the campaign. They do have recommendations up at the top. They want you to add more site links, which is a great recommendation. They also want you to add an audience signal. Absolutely, that would be great. But for now, we're just skipping past it. You can see all of the different things that you have set up through the overview, bidding, your campaign settings, asset groups, and then your budget. Once you fix all of the errors, you're going to be able to actually launch this. But as you can see, I cannot. There's no button down at the bottom because I have an error in place. But overall, that's the process that you have when setting up a brand new Performance Max campaign. Now, I know I sent you to a number of different videos throughout, and we went through this pretty quick, but if I were to talk through all of the nitty-gritty best practices in this video, it would be way too long. But hopefully, now you've got an understanding of what you're going to be encountering as you set up your Performance Max campaign, and you know what you need to go investigate to follow industry best practices to make sure you make the most of your Performance Max campaign. If you have any additional questions about setting up Performance Max campaigns or optimizing or anything else in the paid media space, leave us a note in the comments below. Thanks for watching our video. We really appreciate it. If you liked it, give us a thumbs up below. If you really liked it, maybe think about subscribing to the Paid Media Pros YouTube channel and you'll get alerted every time a new video drops.
If you really liked it, you can help support the channel by checking out some of the t-shirts that we're wearing on our merch shelf, as well as looking at the Super Thanks button.